Runaway wheel, but the driver walks away. Trouble with the bill, the M6 flying squad. And nicked, but this driver's delighted.
Worth 3 points to get his face on television, that's it.
First call on a soggy winter morning. In wet conditions, the motorway is at its most treacherous. Already there's been an accident up ahead, and police are responding to an emergency call from a truck driver.
Just the two vehicles in one?
No, there's only the one involved. That's all.
Just the one?
Just the one.
Oh, she's hit the wall?
Yeah.
Oh, look with you.
Well, something either in the wet or something span round in the wall.
Okay.
It was blocking out lanes, we just put it over.
Right, so thanks very much for your help.
Right, so.
Yep, lovely, thanks. Right.
How'd you catch that?
I was in the outside lane.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we're only travelling like this with the weather. And the guy in front of me was braked really suddenly, so I braked. And you know when your car swerves?
Yeah.
So I kept a cadence brake, so that was torque, and my car wouldn't stop. And I just literally, luckily there was nothing there, and that's all I remember. And I just remember singing this.
And you've caught the wall with it, presumably, yeah?
And that was it, and that's all I remember.
Right, so how have you bumped your face?
I don't know.
Did you have your seatbelt on?
Yeah, my airbag.
Oh, right, yeah, so that's burnt you then, yeah?
Yeah, that was the thing that
The priority now is to keep the car and its owner safe until a towaway truck arrives.
Place some cones because obviously with the weather conditions being what they are, if visibility does get poor, then the cones will obviously reflect if it gets dark enough for people to need the lights. Hopefully she won't be here for any great length of time, but in case we didn't get a chance to get back, then by leaving those there she does have some additional protection.
The police think it might be a write-off, we're not quite sure yet. The worst bit's going to be telling my parents. I would like it fixing, I love my car. I've had it since it was brand new and I've looked after it and I've never crashed it or anything. I just want to get home, speak to my mum and dad, and I've got flu as well, so I just want to go to bed.
It's not just people involved in accidents who can end up stranded on the hard shoulder of a busy motorway. Every year, Britain's rescue and recovery companies are called out to more than 10 million breakdowns. The RAC's control centre sits alongside the M6 motorway, and on the busiest days of the year, its operators handle calls every few seconds from all sorts of drivers.
Very often you'll get a lady and gentleman out alone, and the lady will sort of bring up on behalf of the gentleman, and he's shouting, well, we're not on that road, we're on such and such road, and she's sort of stuck in the middle having this three-way conversation, you know. And there are times when I've had some people say, go away and let me do it myself, you know, and tempers get very irate. Obviously they're in a stressful situation, and they've got somebody shouting down their ear. They don't want it, you know, they just want to talk to me, and I can extract the information that we need to get to them.
Patrolman Steve Pierpoint's been called to a job just off the M42.
I've been out to a Ferrari, Lotus. You go out to everything because at the end of the day, every car potentially can break down because of the mechanics and electrics involved.
I think that there's a talent to this job, and the talent is ascertaining in those first few seconds how that caller wants to be treated. A gentleman who is in a business situation, who has a meeting to attend, doesn't want small talk. He just wants to give you the information, let you go and get someone there as quickly as possible. A lady who's on the roadside who is sort of very flustered, she needs calming, she needs a person to talk to at the other end of the phone, someone who's going to reassure her rather than just take the information from her and let her go.
Just waiting for the lady to come out. This looks like... Hi. What's the problem? Okay. Right, it sounds like your battery's very flat.
Flat when I
came to start it. It was, you know, going over. So
Was it?
maybe I flattened it trying to...
Possibly. Okay, if you could just try that for me, please. No problem.
It's not only vehicles which end up broken on the motorway. There are other innocent victims. Volunteer Jan Harrigan runs a swan sanctuary just a few yards from the hard shoulder.
That's a good boy. You're very quiet, aren't you?
Swans can end up flying into trouble.
Maybe the motorway or the road is wet and shiny. The swan will imagine that it's water. His eyesight's not that brilliant, and instead of coming in for a nice splashy landing, he comes down with a thump. If he's lucky, he gets away with it, but often we get severe injuries. The police ring up and say, Jan, there's a swan on the motorway, and all the traffic has stopped. I usually say, well, why don't you go and get it? Pick it up, and they are not always too happy about this, because swans have this reputation for being fierce things.
We're off there today to gain some instruction on how to recover large injured birds that are lying on the motorway. It's a bit of an unknown quantity for us at the moment.
There was mention we were going on this swan catching course because we're good at ducking and diving.
Oh, we've had all the usual jokes coming through, yes. And, goosing and keeping one's pecker up and all the rest of it. I've no doubt that afterwards we'll get even more.
Hi, Gav Oscar Tango. You won't be able to feel the nice soft feathers. You won't be able to feel it. Don't grip it too tight. You know when its eyes bulging on Phil.
Stand it up there.
Yeah. Oscar Tango 2, if your show's committed now, please. We're just adding another feather or two to our campsite.
That's brilliant.
I can remember it as clear as day. The most memorable was one Friday night. A gang of lads out in a car rang me up, obviously having a great time, about 10 o'clock at night on this summer's evening. Debbie, I've overheated and lost power. And I said, gosh, I hope you mean the car and not yourself. And he said, oh God, you sound great, can you come out and fix our car for us? And I said, no, I can't, but I know a man that can, and then realised that was the AA.
I've had bunches of flowers. I've had 4 apples, a loaf of bread. At the end of the day, the feel-good factor really does come into it. It's lovely to get somebody going, some little old lady, or somebody who's in a rush to get somewhere, or just to get them going and see the happy smile on the face. Yeah, that makes it all worthwhile.